We have about an hour, and so we have panelists here representing, well, I'll just start over here. Greg Costanzo is with the Oregon State Police. Phil Soward is with the Oregon Department of Corrections. Wendy Hamilton, to my left, is with Polk County Juvenile Department. Oh, this isn't working? Okay. Did everybody hear those earlier? Good enough? Okay. Kevin, I'm sorry, next is Sabrina Hunter, who's with Salem Police Department. And then Kevin Jones is at the end, and he's with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. And they'll all talk about what I'd like them to do is talk about their careers a little bit. What are the requirements for the career, for entry-level requirements, maybe something about pay and benefits, and what the job is like, you know, what they like about it, preferably, and maybe some things that they don't like about it, whatever they want to talk about. But they all have about 6 or 7 minutes to talk about that, so we'll leave plenty of time for questions at the end. So keep some questions in mind. And I think we'll just start at this end with Trooper Costanzo, and we'll move down the line. And you guys can give your proper titles and experience and everything else, all right? Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
And also, hopefully they'll talk about the importance of an education too, to their profession. That was just a hint. Go ahead, Greg.
Well, good morning. I'd like to welcome everybody here. I'm going to do a quick introduction about myself because I do think it's important. I did grow up in Medford, where I went to North Medford High School. I did participate in athletics from football to wrestling to baseball. And then in 1988, I came up, much like you are doing here, for a tour of Western. And I met Dr. Gibbons back then, and I think he was my advisor back in 1988, which seems like a long time ago. And I knew that Western was going to be a place that I was going to get my degree in criminal justice. See, I had the unique vision for myself that I knew I always wanted to be in law enforcement ever since I was a young kid. And that was very lucky for me because it's a career path that I've enjoyed for over 20 years now. In 1988, I also applied for a scholarship where I went into the ROTC program. Back then it was at Oregon State, so I did a minor in ROTC and majored in law enforcement up here at Western. I went through my 4 years, and in 1994 I graduated and I went into the military. I served my country as a first lieutenant all the way up through a captain, where I had a lot of fun. I got to be on SWAT, I got to jump out of airplanes, I went to Pathfinder school. Unfortunately, or fortunately for me, I also met a young gal at Western who's a teacher who I've been married to for 21 years now, and she said, we're getting out of the military. So I had to think, okay, what type of work do I want to do? And I knew I wanted to be an Oregon State trooper. I got hired in 1998. I was stationed in Salem. I've been a motorcycle officer. I've had a K-9 for 10 years. I've been a field training officer. I've been on specialty teams, and now I'm a bomb technician for the state police, and I absolutely love going to work every day. Some of the things that I've done that college has benefited me is being able to speak in public. Writing is very important. My 4 years at Western and with Dr. Gibbons has really shaped me into being a well-rounded police officer, and that's the number one benefit that I see with education is those who don't have it struggle with some of the day-to-day tasks of law enforcement because they are grueling when you get into academic skills such as writing and being able to articulate what you've learned over time. Criminal justice has changed. One of the things I love about it that I go to work every day is the people that I work with. The people up here on the panel, there's something about going to work and as a team and being able to sacrifice yourself for a better cause, and that's serving the community. I absolutely love it. I've been doing it now for 20 years. The pay and benefits, I think there's a little bit of a misnomer out there. A lot of people come up to me and say they don't get paid very well being a police officer. I will tell you, for what I do, I feel lucky every day. This might not mean much to you, but I make about $110,000 to $15,000 a year, which is pretty good for me. I work very little overtime, but the education that I have and my specialty training allows me the opportunity to make that much money. About 4 years ago, I went back and I started researching where I wanted to get my master's degree, and I'll tell you, I met Terry Gingerich, who's over in the corner, and I came back to my home of education, and that was Western. But there are many schools out there that are very good. Western was just fit my personality style. There's a lot of different things in law enforcement to do. The state police has a myriad of things. Sometimes people ask me why I never promoted, is because I'm not an office guy. I like being out every day working in the community with doing specialty things, and that's what I do down in Southern Oregon right now, being a bomb technician and working patrol half-time. So with that being said, that's about 6 minutes, and I'll pass it off to the next guy in line.
Thank you, Greg. We have a late arrival. He had a long ways to come. This is Matt Olafson from the Monmouth City Police Department. So it took him a while to get here.
I'm on patrol right now, so.
Oh, you are? Oh, he may be called away, too. Go ahead. So next is Phil Soward from Oregon Department of Corrections.
Good morning. I'm Phil Soward from the Oregon Department of Corrections. I'm a correctionals officer. I went to Western Oregon also 1988, 1989. Dr. Gibbons was my advisor. But I have something better than that. I actually went to grade school on campus here. Right over there at the ITC building was a campus elementary. So I've been here my whole life. Right? I actually lived in town most of my life, and just recently my wife and I moved on the other side of Salem. But I've worked for the Department of Corrections since 1993. I did a practicum pilot program while I was here at the college and contracted into that, and that program's still going on today. From there I went to, was a recreation specialist, where I taught them how to recreate and pro-recreation, pro-social skills. And then from there I went into security, and like this person here next to me, I've never promoted up because I like doing things as well. I've also been on the special teams. I was 2 years on the TERT team, 10 years on the crisis negotiations team, and also I covered many different other skills. Yeah, I can say that this school really kind of is what calmed me down in life. Like I said, I've lived here a long time, and so the atmosphere here is very comfortable. If you're a little nervous about going to college or going away or whatever, this is the school for you. Everyone here is like a family, and if you're going into corrections, you're stepping right into into the criminal justice field, you're stepping right into a family feeling, okay? Everybody in there treats everyone like family or team. I make it like $5 less than him, but I make a good living. And let me just also say to you, if you're thinking about coming and starting in a correctional or criminal justice profession, starting college next year, it's working out perfect for you. You cannot be in a better time. Within the next 4 to 5 years, more than 50% of the DOC staff, employees, are eligible for retirement. All right, more than 50%. We have 14,900 employees with the Department of Corrections right now. That's over 7,000 individuals. So there'll be 7,000 plus job opportunities. So all I can say is if you get a college degree, you are 2 or 3 steps above people who do not have that. And you will advance way faster and make a lot more money a lot faster than the average Joe coming in off the street. Again, like him, I cannot express to you guys how much writing you guys will need to take in and learn. Just get yourself better at it. Public speaking, if that's your thing, it's not mine, but I do it. Writing, that's the skill you need. That'll keep you out of trouble. That'll keep the people that need to be in trouble. So, I'm pretty much done. Like I said, Dr. Gibbons is actually, this is his last year, I guess. He's retiring. He's thinking about it.
I'm done.
He keeps thinking about it. That's all there is. And we'll maybe see some of you guys on campus next year. All right? Hope you come here. Go Wolves. They have a great football team.
Thanks, Phil. And hopefully you guys are already picking up that there are a lot of different things you can do in criminal justice. There are training opportunities and all kinds of specialty assignments you can get that, like bomb tech, fish and wildlife, CERT teams and corrections. There are a lot of different things. Then next we're going to I'll pass over to Wendy Hamilton, who is going to talk about the juvenile justice system. She's a juvenile probation officer with the Polk County Juvenile Department. But the juvenile justice system is just a whole nother system that provides a lot of another level of jobs and job opportunities for people. So, go ahead, Wendy.
So I am Wendy Hamilton, and I work for the Polk County Juvenile Department. I am a juvenile probation officer. I graduated from Western in 2000 with a Bachelor's of Arts in Corrections. I will say that I started my journey at Western as an elementary education major, however, and changed once I took one criminal justice class, and that's all it took for me to come to the dark side. So. I started out in Lynn County as a practicum student and was hired from my practicum to do a temporary assignment working on an expungement. Expungement is huge within the juvenile justice system because it basically means getting your record shredded, for lack of a better word. From there, I filled in as an intervention specialist, which was working with middle school age youth, in addition to a regular probation officer offering services. I've also worked as a diversion coordinator in both the peer court system as well as in Polk County. Our diversion program is called Sanction Court. And from there, I am now a juvenile probation officer. Day-to-day is working with youth and families, and that's the difference between juvenile and adult, is that you do work with families, parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, older siblings that are raising their younger siblings. Day-to-day is meetings at schools with treatment providers. I work closely with law enforcement because that's where we get our business. The only way you get involved with my department is if you meet one of these folks first. So the other piece is that we make decisions every day on youth's futures as to whether they will be detained in a detention facility or if they're going to be released back to the community to live with their parents. As far as pay, it ranges from county to county. I make roughly $60,000 a year. That does include retirement as well as insurance. My biggest piece of advice for you all, especially if you're interested in the juvenile justice route, is now is the time to gain experience working with youth. I would say particularly at-risk youth, but any experience you can gather now is beneficial. Whether or not you choose Western as your school, I think college is probably the single most important decision you'll make in your life for all the reasons that have been discussed up here. Not only financially to be able to support yourself, but so that you're healthier, happier, and just passionate about what you do in life. Yeah, I think that's all. Did I miss anything there?
Good, thanks. Thanks, Wendy. And, occupation, there's a adult probation and parole as well. It's a similar job, but actually juvenile probation officers do a lot more hands-on work oftentimes, and including the courts too. You didn't really, you present, she presents cases in court. She basically serves as a lawyer, I think, right?
We do present cases in court regularly, making recommendations to a judge on what we think should happen to a particular juvenile. And I also should have mentioned that there's a whole wide range of professions within the juvenile justice system, starting out with running a community service work crew program, working in the detention facilities, like a correctional officer, all the diversion programs that are out there statewide, all the way up to probation officers. So there's many, many opportunities out there. To be a juvenile probation officer, public speaking is part of it. I used to hate it. I've gotten over it. You kind of have to when you're in a courtroom before a judge and with people behind you. So my other piece of advice is to take some communication speech type classes because you're going to need it, and I'm going to emphasize writing is huge because we do a lot of report writing as well.
Thanks, Wendy. Okay, next, I'll just move down the line to Sabrina Hunter, who is an officer with the Salem Police Department.
I've been employed with Salem full-time since 2013. I was a part-time community service officer in 2011. Went to Western from 2004 to 2007. I graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Law Enforcement with a minor in Political Science. When I first graduated high school in 2000, I had zero interest in college. I thought it was garbage. I was like, I'm not going to waste 4 years of my life. This is stupid. I'm going to start working and making money. After a few years of minimum wage jobs, I realized that got me nowhere. So I chose Western. They had really small class sizes. It's a beautiful campus. The teachers know you by name. I still talk to my professors 10 years later. So it seemed like a good fit for me. I struggled after college to get hired. I put in a lot of effort volunteering. I did a practicum with state police. I worked for Marion County Parole and Probation with sex offenders. I worked with in a couple domestic violence shelters. So I put in a lot of work and I couldn't get hired. I had hundreds of applications over the course of, I think, 7 years before I actually got hired. What I'd recommend to you guys is don't get discouraged. It's a super competitive field. When I was applying 10 years ago, policing was a lot different than it is now. The day I showed up to test with Salem, there was 500 applicants testing for 5 positions. Now police are getting more of a bad image with the media and everything, so it's hard to get good applicants. Our pay is really good. I work graveyard. I'm just a lowly beat cop, so I don't know if you guys like to watch Cops at all, but basically every day of my job is like an episode of Cops. I got punched in the face a couple nights ago. People spit on you. I've plugged people's gunshot wounds, held dying children, pulled people out of burning houses. I've done everything. It's a good time. It's fun. You get paid to shoot, drive fast, fight each other. It's cool. Salem is the second largest city agency in the state. We're supposed to have about 190 officers. We're down like 10 to 12 right now, just due to retirements, people moving, stuff like that. I can't top the first panelist. I made about $90,000 last year, which is, it's pretty good money. Since I work graveyard, all of my court is overtime. It's kind of tough on family life. If you guys don't have a good support system, you won't make it. My husband's also a police officer. I actually just got off work at 6 a.m., so I'm a little delirious. I apologize if I'm rambling. Our hiring process, it's long and strenuous. It's called FTEP, and right when you guys are hired, you go through 6 weeks of in-house training. So our officers would teach you how to shoot. We'd go to the range. You'd go through consims, which is like scenario-based situations. There's defensive tactics. There's evoc, which is how to drive like a crazy person without getting in trouble. And then you do 16 weeks at the police academy. That's required for every police officer in the state to go through that. And then FTEP for our agency is 4 phases. It's about 4 to 6 weeks with a coach per phase. It's super stressful, I'm not gonna lie. I'm sure you've got the same story. I lost 20 pounds, I wasn't eating, it was stressful, but it's so worth it. You're graded on everything, your appearance, your officer safety, your report writing, how you talk to people, how you interact with other members of the department. So that portion after you're hired till you're in your own car is about 9-10 months. So it's a long ride, but it's worth it. I would recommend to you guys, if you can do any kind of volunteering that makes you stand out from other people. For me, I had past internships. I went on my own time and sat in courtrooms so I could learn how the court process worked. I'd sit in traffic court and circuit court just to kind of have that edge on the next applicant. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the ORPAT. It's this terrible, awful physical fitness course, which is required by most agencies to get hired. If you guys can go test that out, I would recommend doing that as well. And then ride-alongs, those are key. A lot of people think they want to be cops. They think it's cool to watch it on TV, and then they'll actually get out and realize, oh my gosh, this isn't what I like. So I just encourage you guys. I rode with lots of city agencies, state, county, big, small. Just get your name out there and make a lot of contacts. That's it.
I think I'll go with Matt. I'm going to skip just to stick with the police. So we have the second largest police department in the state, represented by Sabrina. Now we'll have Matt Olafson, who's been with Monmouth PD, which is the third largest. Oh no, that's not quite.
Just a little guy.
The small police department. Matt is a sergeant with Monmouth Police Department. And the other thing is, you might notice a trend that all the panelists are Western graduates. It's basically who I know, and I put the panel together and I call them up and they're willing to come. So, and I'm proud of all these former students. They're great professionals and they do a great job. So go ahead, Matt.
All right. Well, my name is Matt Olafson. I'm a patrol sergeant here in Monmouth. Like I said, I'm on duty today, so I could leave at any time. I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I kind of got started. When I came to college, I was a jock. I came to school to be a football player, played football here at Western, and then about my sophomore year is when I started kind of realizing and growing up a little bit, and I had a professor tell me, hey, you can't just play football all your life, man. You got to figure out something. And I wanted to be a football coach like every other jock does. And so I kind of started looking. No offense to you guys, but I didn't want to deal with high school students all my life. So my professor said, hey, go find some interesting things or jobs that interest you and go observe them. And so I had a cousin at the time that was working in Newport that went to school here as well. And I jumped in the car for him one night. And honestly, I look back at it now and we didn't do much. We ran code, which is lights and sirens, down Highway 101 one time, and went to like a domestic another time. And I think he roughed up some guy that had a warrant for a little bit. But it wasn't much for what I see now day to day. But at the time, I was like, man, that was awesome. And I had the greatest time of my life. A lot of the stuff that I learned on the football field, it started transitioning to that job. I mean, that job that he was doing at the time was that patrol car, that little box, that's his office every day. He goes around helping people that need him. And I found an interest in that. And so I started taking some classes, and I changed my degree. Not totally settled on it yet, because that's all part of growing up. That's what you get 4 years in college for, I really believe, is to figure out how to grow up. So I ended up majoring in community crime prevention. I was worried that law enforcement might be just too specific, have something else to back off of if I didn't make it or didn't have the desire. While I was playing football, I was able to get into the reserve program with Monmouth. And the reserve program is pretty cool. If you guys haven't heard about it, look into it. Basically, you are hired on as a reserve, which is a volunteer-based. You go in and you go through immense training, just like a full-time officer does. We do a full background check, psych, all the same stuff that you do in a full-time process, we do for our reserves. They then go through training, just like the full-time police officers. Many of the instructors in our MVRT reserve training are full-time academy instructors. So they get a lot of really good training. And when you do it like twice a night, or twice a week, and then on the weekends, in the evenings. And it's over a period of time, but I was able to get a lot of credits through the university too, practicum hours and some other credits, so it worked towards my degree. But after that was done, I got to go in full uniform as a volunteer and be a cop with the full-time officer. And so I really got to know people. I got to learn how the job worked. And I graduated, I was done playing football in '04, and I graduated in December of '04, and an opportunity happened here. I thought I was on my way out, going to leave Monmouth finally, and an opportunity opened up, and I got hired by April. And so I've been here since 2000. I'm now raising my family here, and it's an awesome, awesome town. It's not like I thought it was in college. It's a lot different, and it's been awesome. The one thing I tell everybody that comes in and talks to me about wanting to become a police officer is I tell them you gotta continue to learn. Everything in this job changes every day. Whether it's case law, whether it's updating laws, legislation comes out with something new, we are always learning. And that basis starts when I was in college, learning how to live on my own for the first time, learning how to manage my time with school and football and social life. I learned while I was in college. You know, I have some friends out of high school that they went right into the workforce. And one of my best buddies, he bought a house before me, but he's still working for the sanitation place that he started his job at. And, you know, I was able to grow up, figure out what I wanted to do, learn how to be a young man, and set myself up for a career. You know, I'm making a lot more than him now. You know, I'm at about $85,000 a year, and I love it. Every day is different. I don't have to sit behind a cubicle. I'm a road guy. I go out and talk to people in the community, meet people every day. I spend a lot of times going to the schools and just having lunch with elementary kids, just because I want to change that image of kids at a young age, and I can do that because my job allows me to. If I want to go home for lunch, I can go home and say hi to my kids, you know. Like, there's so many perks to this job. But really the key is figuring out where you want to go. What I loved about Western is the same thing like they talked up here is the fact that the class sizes are small. And, you know, Dr. Gibbons, Dr. Gingrich, they were big parts of figuring out, helping me figure out what I needed to do to get where I needed to be. So that's kind of I can tell you a whole bunch of fun stories. I've done a whole bunch of stuff, but I won't bore you with that.
Okay. Thanks, Matt. Okay, last is Kevin Jones, who's a staff operations specialist with the FBI.
Hey everybody, can you guys all hear me? You hear me fine out there? All right. Yeah, my name's Kevin Jones. I work for the FBI based out of Salem here. Graduated from Western Oregon in 2012. My job as a staff operations specialist is basically that I do what's called tactical analysis, as opposed, of course, to strategic analysis. But I basically spend all my time and energy finding people, places, and things. I get paid to do that all day. I find myself to be pretty good at it. I sit at a desk all day. I had last week a pretty crazy experience, much like Sabrina, who had to rescue kids and plug gunshot wounds. I couldn't log into my computer last week. I lost files. I didn't know where they were. I left them by the other computer. It was pretty hectic. It was tragic. I know. So basically, like I said, I just do a lot of analysis and research. So I was talking to somebody a while ago, and they said that I basically have the job of that gal, that analyst off of Criminal Minds. What was her name? Garcia. Yeah, that's what it was. But I can't work that fast, and I don't get my information as quickly as she does. But anyways, a little bit about me. Went to high school at Benson over in North Portland. Grew up in Southeast Portland. Had no idea what I wanted to do after high school. I actually came to the preview day, this exact room, listening to a similar panel. My mom came with me, and I was like, Mom, just no, you don't have to come, just drop me off. But she was persistent, so she came with me. And so I sat here, and I learned as much as I could. Basically, it came down to this was one of the better universities. This was the best university that's out of Portland, where I grew up, and I wanted to kind of get out, experience something different. So I came here with a thought that I wanted to be a biologist until I took a biology class and realized that I don't know anything about science, and I still don't. And then so I shifted from biology to I wanted to be a teacher, but then I quickly realized that I don't want to do that. I took some psychology classes. I want to be a psychologist, and until I realized I'm not fit for that either. So what happened was I was sitting in the dorms. I stayed in Landers over here, which I don't know if you guys will get a tour of that later or not, but stayed in Landers, and a dorm mate of mine came in and was talking about criminal justice. He's like, yeah, I just got out of my criminal justice class. I'm like, really? Well, what'd you guys learn about? He's like, oh, it's like, I think it was actually with Dr. Gibbons, or it might have been with Murphy or Gingrich, but he said we talked about murders today, drugs, and all these different, and I'm like, at school? You guys talked about that at school? He said, yeah. And I'm like, I want to sign up for a class. So I signed up for a class and quickly realized, like, this is what I want to do. So I did my 3 years. Going into my internship, I had Dr. Murphy standing in the back there. I had him as my advisor. We were sitting down, and I was trying to figure out where I wanted to do my internship at. He had experience with the Marshal Service, and so he said, why don't you consider federal? So I applied for the FBI. Thought it was really cool that I was applying for the FBI. I was actually in the library here. People were walking by. They were seeing that I'm on the FBI's webpage. I felt pretty cool. So I applied, and I didn't think anything was ever going to happen. I get an email back from an FBI recruiter up in Portland. And then I also felt really cool that people were walking by. They might have read the FBI thing. I was like, this is really neat. So long story short, I did to do an internship with them, you have to do a polygraph. You have to do a background check. They sent an investigator here and talked to all of my professors, my roommates, dorm mates, neighbors, all that kind of stuff. And then had to do a lot of stuff for that, a lot of paperwork, surprisingly. So I did that, worked up in Portland for 10 weeks, did that, and was on our cyber crimes unit, and also did some work with the International Terrorism Division there. And at the end of that, they said, do you want to continue your senior year here at Western and still work for us as an intern? I said, yeah, absolutely, sounds great. So I did that. 2 weeks before I graduated, just like Sabrina, I was applying everywhere, any place. I was trying to get a job as a police officer. Similar to her experiences, I walked into one place and there was like 250 people. Somebody raised their hand and said, how many spots are you hoping to fill here? And they're like, well, 1, maybe 2. So I was like, I'm never going to become a police officer. This is, so 2 weeks before my graduation, the FBI called and said, hey, we're about to post 2 jobs. We want to know if you would like to know about them first. I said, well, yeah, absolutely. So they told me what they were, and I said, well, hold on, here's the question. Do I get paid? And they said, yes, you do. I said, well, yeah, you're going to pay me to do the work I was doing. Yeah, that sounds great. So I put forth an application, did an interview, got hired. And the day that I graduated over here at the football field, that night I was up in Portland and I was flying back to Quantico, spent a week there, came back and worked up in Portland in our confidential file room, handling with all of our confidential human sources and stuff like that. So did that for about 2.5 years. Job opened up here in Salem to do tactical analysis. And I said, yes, absolutely, that is right up my alley, which I never thought I would ever want to come back to Monmouth. But when you leave it, you tend to really oddly want to come back. It's strange because just like Matt had said, it was when I left, I was like, I'm never going to ever come back to Monmouth. I'm just too small of a town. I'm a big city guy, but then I went back to Portland and quickly realized if I'm going to, get married and have a wife and kids and raise my family, it's going to be in Monmouth. So I've been working at the Salem office for going on 3 years now. Really enjoy it. You know, the requirements to get into the FBI vary depending on what you want to do. All of it has to do with polygraphs, background, you know, figuring out who you are. You know, it's a lot of that kind of stuff. All that information is pretty standard, and it's all online. Careers, there's special agents, there's analysts, there's anything. If you like computers, there's that. Anything that you guys can think of, there's probably a unit back at headquarters that does, or out in the field that does as well. As far as pay, when I started right out of college, I was getting paid, I don't know, it was like $33,000. So that was in 2012. So now, last year I got promoted, and I'm getting paid like 65. In May I get jumped to 78, and then it just progressively goes the longer I'm in the spot or in the position. Also, another benefit is if you want to continue your education, they'll pay for that. If you don't have a degree and you get into the FBI, they'll pay for a bachelor's degree, they'll pay for a master's degree. So they paid for my master's degree. I finished up a master's degree at U of O right now, 40 grand. I don't have to pay anything. I just have to pass the classes. And then also your student loans, if you come to the FBI with student loans, they'll pay that stuff off too. You just have to put in an application. They have to review your performance, and if you're a good employee, they'll pay it off too. But all this basically is stemmed from when I came to Western, I did not know what I wanted to do. There's a lot of good advisors here, a lot of good teachers. Everybody wants you to succeed. I can directly, you know, attribute my, you know, trajectory into the FBI and to the criminal justice field, you know, just from Dr. Gingerich and Gibbons and Murphy and all the faculty here. Never thought in a million years I'd actually be doing this, but when I didn't really have the know-how or the you know, the option or the knowledge to even go about something like that, even applying. You know, I sat in Dr. Murphy's room and said, hey, why don't you consider this? Consider the FBI. I was like, really? You think so? He's like, why not? So I know exactly where you guys are at. All of us do. We were all here at one point. And there's a lot of unknowns, but education is so important, regardless of what you want to do in life. You know, it'll help you every single day. You'll never be able to bring it down to one class, but you know, with the education you get here, especially, I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's been probably the most valuable thing I've ever had. So that's it for me. Thank you.
That's great, and we have plenty of time for questions, so hopefully we have some questions out there. And is there a microphone for people? Okay, Dave's going to come and get it. So anybody have a question for any of the panelists or generally? Yeah, right in front. That's great. Right there, Dave. Right in front. Right.
Oh, sorry, I saw one back there.
Yeah.
Is it true that you guys have to like get tased to become a police officer?
We have to be shot, too.
No. With our agency, it's optional. If you want to, you can.
Did you?
No. We have to get OC'd, which is just some pepper spray that just burns for, I don't know, like a week. Yeah. But otherwise, the tasing's optional.
It's optional for us too, but I highly recommend it to our guys, and I'll tell you the reason behind it, because, you know, in a lot of use of force situations, you have to testify to that. And so if somebody were to get my taser from me, I know what that effect is on me. It's going to incapacitate me to a level that I can't control my body or anything else. And I also know what that does to somebody else. So I deploy it on somebody else, I know what they're going to go through. So I suggest that you do it to people. It's 5 seconds, and we call it the ride, and it's quite a ride. Take a nap afterwards, but it's optional.
How about you, Greg? Did you have to be tased?
With the state police, it's not required that we get tased, but I have been tased for some of the same reasons, and it's something that everyone should do.
You want to try it? Wake you up.
Okay, another question? Yeah.
Okay, so as a technical analysis, what classes do you recommend for students that want to go into that to take?
Yeah, it's actually a really good question. So not surprising, I write all day, every day. That's, you know, if I find something, if I'm doing a workup on someone and whatever I find out, I have to put that into a document that gets serialized to the file. Just take as many writing classes as you can. which is what I did when I was here. I took a lot of writing classes, and like research writing, research methods, stuff like that. If you could get any, yeah, basically if I could summarize it, I would just say writing, yeah, because it doesn't really matter what you're writing. If you have, you know, if you can spell right, if you can put a period, you know, all these different things that seem pretty common and common sense now, but you know, there's a lot of people that really struggle with it, and if you can go through college, if you make sure that you're a good writer, because surprise, when you come to Western, you're gonna have to write. You know, you're gonna have to do it a lot, and you'll eventually find yourself getting better and better at it. So yeah, that would be my 2 cents. Yeah, computer science stuff too. Yeah, if you could do some, if you could learn how to use computers, if you guys don't already. You know, if you can, yeah, computer science is a good option if you want to go into, you know, intelligence. Writing is especially good, like political science, like any. The good thing about the FBI is that you don't have to have a criminal justice degree to get in the door. You know, we don't hire just people with criminal justice degrees. We've hired bus drivers from Boston, and we've hired gym teachers from Alabama. You know, that's not a joke. We really have. And if you have the background to support why you're coming, if you have skills, unique set of skills to come and bring to the table, then, you know, if you're going to be an asset to the team, well, you're hired. So, hopefully that answered your question.
Forgive me if you already answered this. I came in a bit late. But what degree would you say that would be beneficial to join, whether it's the FBI, state police, or just a county division of police?
I'll answer that real quick. I know for me, any degree that you find that is fascinating and motivates you to go to class every day and study and be the best student and person you can be, go towards that. We don't require any specific degree, but pick one that motivates you, because that's what's going to make your 4 years here at Western more fulfilling, is actually enjoying learning. So don't be going to classes just because you think you have to. Pick something that motivates you and fascinates you so you can learn.
Yeah, I wouldn't say there's any specific. We have officers that have art degrees in music and Spanish. It really doesn't matter. We're just kind of looking for that extra education. That just shows us that you're motivated, you're dedicated, you can see something through. You know, I went for forensic chemistry as well for a little brief period of time before I realized it kicked my butt. It was super hard. But yeah, there's nothing really specific. If you're passionate about criminal justice, then you'll have a blast here at Western.
And I think the important thing, just like what they said, do something that you're passionate about and that you want to go to class, that you're interested in. That also translates to better grades, and that makes a difference. Having a GPA that is well over 3.0. I mean, it's not that you can't get a job with a GPA under 3, but it does make a difference when they're looking at your file. They will look at your transcripts. Unlike some professions in criminal justice, especially in law enforcement, they will look at your transcripts and see what classes you took and what kind of grades you got, and it can make a difference. Something that sets you apart. Like they're saying, you always want to look for something that'll set you apart from other people, and everybody up here has said that in one way or another.
Hi, approximately how many volunteer hours do you have to do, or where would you recommend the kids go to get that experience?
So to get your college degree, you do have to do a practicum. I believe that's still the case, and that's a 400-hour work experience. And that's to get your degree. But as I said before, any experience that you can get is vital. I have a similar situation like these folks. I worked 7 days a week for 4 years so that I could keep my foot in the criminal justice door. So that was having a part-time job within juvenile justice and then having a full-time job to pay the bills. But don't give up. Continue to apply. Volunteer wherever and whenever you can. Particularly with juvenile justice, even working at the Boys and Girls Club, at the YMCA, anything like that. just the experience showing that you can work with youth is vital to entering our system.
Yeah, so as Wendy said, if you major in criminal justice at Western, we require our students to complete a 400-hour practicum for 12 credits or internship for 12 credits, usually during your senior year. We place you with an agency in the field as close as we can get to something that you're interested in, and a faculty member supervises you, and then there's a professional in the field that supervises you too, and then do as much else as you can, get experience as everybody has suggested in other ways.
With Oregon State Police, do you get like a certain job when you're hired, or do you like after your training can you request a job like being a game warden or highway patrol?
Yeah, we have actually a lateral program now, but the two jobs that you'll get right off the bat is we have people hired right into Fish and Game, and then we have people hired right into patrol. It's changing so quickly now. We have detectives that are lateraling over from other agencies that will fill the detective job. But right out of college, you will either be put in patrol or Fish and Game, and then your whatever path you want to take will progress from there.
When you're doing, first, thank you everybody for serving all of us and stuff. Thank you. But like, when you go into the police force, if you want to be like a mounted policeman or SWAT, how would you go about going into those different roles? Do you have to do, like in the military, where you do just a general service and then you go into a specified role, or how does that work?
Well, generally speaking, you know, it depends on where you go. I can speak for my agency. We're a small agency, and I was fortunate enough to, after 2 years of being on patrol, start getting into specialized units like our special response team, which is like our SWAT team, which I did that for several years. Within 5 years, I was in a detective role. But yeah, you have to start at the bottom and kind of work your way and show that you can do that job and apply for it. I know other agencies have time caps of when you can, until you can apply, and then time into that position as well.
So I know like being bilingual is obviously like, that's like a perk if you are going into law enforcement, but is it like a required thing to know a second language?
I can speak to that. It's not required with our agency. It's an extra 5% pay incentive. We in Salem, a huge portion of our community is Spanish speaking, especially where I work, North Salem. Half my night I encounter Spanish speaking citizens. We usually have a Spanish speaking officer on that will be happy to translate. If we can't go through a Spanish speaking officer, we'll use our dispatchers. We have like a 1-800 number called Language Line. It's not required, but it definitely makes you stand out. Not just Spanish, but you know, like sign language or Russian or any other language of that sort.
I've heard all the academic, sort of the importance of the academics. Could you speak to maybe the hiring process? You've mentioned sort of the psych eval, the background checks, the importance of making good moral choices now so that when they go to apply for these jobs, there's not disqualifying things in their background?
I can say when it comes to the background checks, it's really thorough. They do it a lot different than when I hired on. They ask things such as your last 10 addresses and all your neighbors and stuff like that. I don't even know them. So, but I can tell you, as long as you're truthful and you fill out everything in a very truthful manner, so if something should come back, it's not something that you try to conceal. It was something that, you know, some dumb mistake, you and your buddy snuck into a drive-in, right? Well, that's just something that skipped your mind, but when it comes back for a background check, it's going to say, hey, what about that, right? Defrauding an innkeeper or something. They're going to ask about that. Well, I forgot about it. Well, you deceived, and they won't hire you for that. They have someone else who did not deceive. So just be very truthful, be very upfront with it. There's nothing wrong with stating the facts and then let them justify it that way.
I'm going to add something to that. In addition to the whole being truthful thing, social media is huge right now with our background investigators. Luckily, I didn't have any social media accounts when I went through backgrounds, but they'll go on your Instagram, your Facebook, Snapchat, everything. They'll get your passwords, and they will dig. Background investigators are looking for any kind of dirt on you, and if you have it, they will find it. So they talked to my next door neighbors when I was a kid, my ex-husband, everybody that I've ever, hated in life. They'll find them and they'll ask why. So just throw it out there. Be honest. Everybody has skeletons in their closet. It's not a big deal. There are a lot of things you can do. Like you smoked weed last year. Just own it. Be responsible for it. Just if you hide it, they will find it. So just be cognizant of that.
Okay, so for Sabrina, so you know how you said that, that's your name, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so for when you said that you did your volunteering hours before you got your job, did you do that on yourself, or did you have certain support from like the county and looking into certain different like opportunities?
When I was a student here, I actually worked for, I don't know if you still have Abby's house? Yep. Do you have Abby's house here?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. It was like a domestic violence resource center downstairs here, actually. And I did that on my own. I volunteered for state police longer than my practicum. I did everything on my own. I even worked, I thought outside the box when it came to volunteering. I thought, okay, I don't want just criminal justice experience. I would volunteer at my daughter's school. I would volunteer for like Salem Harvest, where we go out and pick fruits and veggies for the homeless people. So it just showed that I had a love for my community, and I was super passionate about helping people. But I'm sure Dr. Gibbons and Dr. Gendrich would definitely set you up if you were curious of places to look, or you could even talk to me afterwards. I could set you up with some stuff or give you some ideas.
Anyone else? So here we go.
My mom has talked to a detective who's gone to Western Oregon, and he said that if you're interested in being like a police officer, then it's recommended to volunteer for like campus security, and it would make you stand out. So I was wondering if that's true.
I'll touch on that. I think any volunteering, getting your foot in the door somewhere is very important. We work very closely with campus public safety here, and I know some police officers, actually a friend of mine that when I got hired was working for Monmouth, had worked for public safety first, and now she's working for Department of Justice as a criminal investigator there. So getting your foot in any door is good because it can be a transition into where you want to be eventually.
And we have several students over the years who work for campus public safety. They're usually parking enforcement, so they drive around and give other students tickets for parking illegally or whatever. But it's a good start. And as Sergeant Olafson just said, our campus public safety works very closely with Monmouth Police Department. So
and one more thing too, I'd like to add a little bit more. When I was here, I volunteered when I was living in Landers. I volunteered for it was the judicial board. So it was a committee of peers and faculty that if you live in the dorms and you broke the rules, instead of it being sent to one person, you'd come in front of a committee, myself and the others, and you kind of plead your case, and we'd learn about what happened, and then you'd step out of the room and we'd try to determine what steps would be appropriate. And then so I did that for 2 years, and then I did kind of the step above that is the student conduct committee, and that's instead of just the dorms. If you do anything on campus, outside of the dorms, if you are in a fight in class or something like that, again, instead of going to one person to discipline you, you would come and step forward in front of the committee, And that was a really good experience for me, and I think anybody can do it. You just need to volunteer, put in an application, and you know, they'll interview you, and if you're a good fit, you'll be on the board. And really good because it kind of showed me how to talk to people, how to ask questions, how to interpret things, and then how to work with others who might have a different opinion on what should happen. So that was a huge asset to me, especially when I applied afterwards. So keep that in mind.
So what are some of the major, like, general disqualifiers? I know it's different for each department, but what are some of, like, the major ones?
What was the question?
What are some major disqualifiers, things that you can do that will absolutely exclude you from any of these jobs?
Murder.
Don't lie.
Yeah, I mean, the basic ones are arrests are going to be disqualifiers. If a background investigator finds you being deceptive or lying in your background, or even omitting things on your application and they find out, that's considered a lie. There are a lot of different things that you can do, and I like to always tell people your application process really starts now. You're competing against hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people for 1 or 2 jobs, so if there's any reason they can get rid of you, they will, because there's always somebody more qualified, so just think about that as you're doing things. The list is infinite on what you can be disqualified for.
And to add to that, your GPA, it also falls into that. If there's 2 positions and 4 candidates, they're going to look at the person that has the better grades. So keep that in mind.
If you want to be in the FBI, would joining the Pathways program help you?
I did not even hear it. I'm sorry. If you want to be in the FBI, would what?
Would joining the Pathways program in college help you?
Yeah, I think, you know, just like kind of a continuing trend with everybody on the board here is the more that you're out there, the more stuff that you can get experience with would only benefit you because what happens is a lot of people put forth an application right out of college and it'll be pretty bare because, you know, you've been in college for 4 years. But if you know, there's an application that has, you know, not much on it, but then if you have other things like Pathways or any other organization or committee that you volunteered for, that you've worked with and you have experience with, the more experience that you can bring to the table to offer that agency, regardless of what agency it is, it would only do, you know, it would only be great, better, you know, I think it'd be good.
Here's one last question.
Okay.
Do you guys work with criminologists, and if so, what do they help you guys in?
What?
Criminologists.
If you work with criminologists?
What do they help, like, with, say, officers or in your specific fields?
I don't know.
I guess I could touch on that a little bit. So anybody who can provide statistics to the FBI, to Salem PD, to, I mean, you know, any police department, it'll show, you know, that, you know, maybe there's a crime, there's a hot spot over here that has been, you know, there's been 10 break-ins in the last 2 weeks. You know, maybe we should provide more focus on this area. To the FBI, it's the same thing, but it's on a national level. You know, a place like Chicago, well, maybe we should increase police presence in these neighborhoods because there's more violence. These neighborhoods are more prone to violence and, you know, police shootings, things like that. It basically allows the departments and the police agencies, the FBI, anybody to know kind of where to put their assets so that way it'll try to negate the threat a little bit. I don't know if that really answered your question or not, but it's you know, anything that we do is, at least for the FBI, is really driven by statistics and where we should focus our efforts, and a lot of that comes from data.
But let's give the panelists a round of applause. Thank you all for coming.